another edition of Halftime Chat, and we'll continue with our Uptown Records pioneers. We've got Jenkins coming in shortly, and then also with Jeff Red. But we're starting off with music producer George Pearson. Some of you might say, "Look, I've heard his name before. Where would I've heard his name?" But he's done a lot of work with Trackmasters. If you heard of the R&B group Allure on their first album, he's done some things with Nas, as well as Anthony Hamilton. So yeah, I mean, George, it might be good just to talk about your catalog before the others come in.
Okay. Well, first of all, I worked with Anthony Hamilton, as you said. I did his first album. The first record that I had to come out was 702, Stilo.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what else? I got two songs on the Mary J. Blige album, Share My World and Round and Round.
Oh, okay.
Nas, I did the Hate Me Now. Street Dreamers with R. Kelly, Head Over Heels featuring Mariah Carey. I mean, Foxy Brown, the Ill Na Na. I was blessed to be on one of the biggest artists, Michael Jackson's. I did a remix. They don't really care about us, that record. Yeah, I did the remix with Trackmasters.
Okay. Oh, just for those who are just joining us, we've got we this is our series on Uptown Pioneers, and so Jimmy Luv Jenkins has joined us.
What's up?
They love.
Let's get it popping.
Yeah. So Jimmy George was just going through some of his catalogs and songs that he's done, and I think a lot of us would be shocked to hear that he's done quite a bit on some big records, but we might not have seen his name and stuff. How do you know George, Jimmy?
Okay. Well, George came to New York at simultaneously. Anthony Hamilton came from North.
Oh,
What happened?
he somebody might have somebody might have called his phone and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so okay, so he and he's really good at telling the stories. But where are you originally from, George?
I'm originally from Boston.
Okay.
And I moved to Cleveland, and that's where I homed in my skills of
On my
playing.
Polo Ground label.
Oh, okay.
Dwight Thomas came at the same time. And they came from Cleveland. Anthony came from North Carolina. We put him in a house in New Jersey. And, New Jersey is a very fruitful place for musicians, artists, anywhere from Sugar Hill Records to the Isley Brothers to Dizzy Gillespie to Redhead Kingpin to all kinds of rap stars, Latifah, Naughty by Nature, all of that. So we put him in the mix of all of these people. When I was at Uptown, we had already been rolling already with Mary J. Blige. We had Jodeci, Heavy D, Soul For Real. We had great success at that time. So when he came here, he was like the only person that knew how to read and write and produce music on that level. Everybody else was basically drum programmers and producers. You know what I mean? They really didn't have the same knowledge that he had, but what they did have is knowledge of how to make a hip hop record. So I was immediately got him with the Trackmasters, and we went to work. First, I got him with Mark Spark, and then we went to work on the Anthony Hamilton album. And Anthony was like Bill Withers, Al Green, and Marvin Gaye all wrapped up in one. And I put Anthony with a young lady by the name of Terry Robinson, who had been working with us since Guy. She wrote records with Teddy Riley, Aaron Hall, Eddie F., Al B. Shaw, Kyle West,
and she's part of Terry
Puff
and
Daddy.
Monica.
She had already been a superstar writer and singer. She was part of a group that Kyle West and Al B. Shaw produced called The Girls, and Eddie F. produced called The Girls. And so I immediately put him with her. They began a relationship and became a songwriting duo for Anthony's album. And during that process, this is when George comes in that process. and starts laying down the music. We started laying down the music on the record. I Will Go, um, You're My Type of Woman, and we named his album XTC. And we wanted him to be our Bill Withers. And at first, when I first introduced Anthony to Andre Harrell, Andre wasn't that impressed. I had another artist, like I said, by the name of Dwight Thomas, who came with George Pearson from Cleveland, and him and George had already had their production down pat. And he was part of a group I think called Men at Large,
No,
out
Rude
of
Boys. The
Oh, the
Rude
Cleveland
Rude
Boys.
Boys
with
are from
Gerald
The
the.
Rude Boys.
Levertman. Am I
Oh,
right or
Rude
wrong,
Boys.
George?
It's
Uh,
the Rude Boys. He was with the Rude Boys.
George,
The Rude Boys.
are you guys frozen?
No.
no, we can hear him say. He said it was part of the Rude Boys.
Are you guys
That's
frozen?
out of
Yeah,
Levert, right?
yeah, they from Levert camp.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy, we can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. His stuff might have been okay. So while Jimmy's getting his sounds back on, so Dwight was part of. Was he part of Men at
No, he
Large?
wasn't part of Men at Large, but he had got with the group, the Rude Boys, and he was singing.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Rude
the
Boys.
Rude
Sorry, I
Boys,
don't know why I
and
said
they
Men at
had
Large.
did a couple of big records. They had it's written all over your face. A few other records that they had too. But yeah,
Okay.
he was the reason why I came to New York is Dwight Thompson. This would have never happened if it wasn't for him. He brought me up and asked me to help him with his album,
Okay.
and that's how it all started. Then I
Okay.
met Jimmy, and the rest was history.
Let me
Okay.
ask you something. Did we
So when you
freeze
met.
that whole time I was talking?
No, no, just towards the end, just when you asked, just when we talked about
Oh,
Dwight
okay.
Thomas. That was just, yeah, it was
All
just
right.
then. Yeah. So, but then, Jimmy, how did you meet George? Because who introduced you to George?
Well, there was a guy he was my partner by the guy named by the name of Ray Middleton, who introduced me to George. And, I was training him in terms of the music business. And he introduced me to George and Dwight. And then we bought a house on Queens Ann Road to put George, Dwight, and
Anthony.
Anthony Hamilton in. And there
Mhm.
was a guy by the name of Mark Spark. That's who really introduced me to him. Mark Spark did Shoop. He did a lot of records he didn't get credit for, but he also came and he did a record label years later, which he signed Anthony Hamilton to, and it had Sunshine Anderson, and one of the producers was Mike City. But him and George started
Okay.
collaborating on music, and they came up with this incredible body of work for Anthony Hamilton. And then what happened is the project grew, and we brought the track masters in, and those songs were already done. They just came to refresh it, give it a little bit of a hip hop feel. Shout out to Pope
Mm,
and Tone from the Track Masters.
Yep,
They did
yep.
their thing, and then I put them with George, and the rest is history. After that is Michael Jackson. After that is Mariah Carey, Mary J. Blige, Jodeci. All of this is signed under my Polo Ground label at Uptown Universal. So this is the beginning,
okay.
and we're basically at we come after Jeff Red has finished his project, which is a project we always wanted to be on,
Yep.
but he
Mm,
had completed his project, so we never really got to work with Jeff, but we got to work with everybody else at Uptown, whether it was the Lost Boys, whether it was Soul for Real. We did all the remixes, all of that. So this is towards the end of Uptown.
okay.
We had already started having a relationship with. We already had a relationship with Steve Stout and the Track Masters, and basically they were doing everything, and they would bring us in to do the music and lay the music down. So, I don't know if George told you, when we started making the transition from Uptown and Motown, one of the first records that came up out of there was Stilo. One of the first hit records that came up out of there was Stilo. And George, laid the music, co-wrote it, with Missy Elliott, Chad Elliott, Sting, and it's a smash now. It's a regularly sampled record right now. You know what I mean? Diplo, the DJ, I don't know if you know who he is. Uh, he has a
No, yeah,
worldwide
no.
presence. The record that he took out and sampled, Stilo, is in 30. It went number one in 36 countries already. It's like the number one record in Asia and throughout Europe right now. So his name is Diplo, and the record is "Come On."
Hmm.
And that's the Stilo bass line. Also, the Stilo bass line and the Stilo record, period, is Cousin Skeeter. That was a record, that was a television show produced by Alonzo Brown, who was Mr. Hyde of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is Andre and Alonzo Brown, Andre Harrell and Alonzo Brown. And they took that record and made it the title track and renamed it Cousin Skeeter, and it was a huge television hit at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah. So then also the Motown. They also had a Motown television show as well at the time, and they used Stilo for that as well. So this record has been
Okay.
sampled a lot and used a lot and worked a lot, and we appreciate all the people that was involved with it, whether it was Sting, Chad Elliott, Missy Elliott. It was one of the biggest records that Motown had at that time.
Yeah, I mean, George. I don't think there's anyone that, if you hear Stilo, won't think it's probably one of the biggest hits for 702. How did the concept of that song come about, and who played what part in creating that
It's
song?
funny that you asked that. Well, actually, I went over to Chad Elliott's house. We made it at Chad Elliott's house, and he played a few samples. I told him I picked that sample. I said, "Yo, that right there." It was just the guitar part. Down, 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 down. I said, "Listen, give me some drums with that." He looped it and put some drums, and I just did what I do. I played the music on it. I felt it as soon as I heard the sample. I knew what I wanted to play. So he did the drums, and he took the sample. I told him to use this sample, and after that, I played everything that you hear on that record. Everything. I arranged the music, how I changed, all that. I did all of that. Intros, strings, all of that. That's me, bro.
And and so, what happens when it comes to the lyrics? Do you do the music
Yeah,
first, and then
I
does
did the
the
lyric.
lyrics
I
get
mean,
written?
I did the music first. I believe Missy
Yeah.
Elliott is the one that wrote the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? So, but
Okay.
yeah, I did the track. Now I didn't go in the studio with them because at the time that they was doing the
Ah.
record, I was working with Mary J. Blige, and I was working with Mariah Carey with Trackmaster. So it was like, who do I go? You know what I'm saying? Do I go with 702? And I was already working with Trackmasters real extensively. So I just stayed over there. But I did the track with Chad Elliott. He took the track and went in the studio while I was in the studio with
Okay.
Mary J. Blige and uh, Mariah Carey at the time. And that's how
Okay.
that came about.
Okay. I know you've got a keyboard there. Are there parts of that song that you can remember playing
Stilo?
when you were creating
Well,
Stilo?
yeah, of
Yeah.
course. You know, that's the. But that's all it was. And I had the strings. I play string lines and all that. But yeah, pretty much all the songs that I've done,
Okay.
I know all of them.
Yeah. We got Select Global Accent. Were you guys involved with anything with Lade when they were on Motown,
Well,
Jimmy?
Lade, that's funny. You should ask about them. I knew Lade when they were very young, like 14 years old. When I started at Uptown as a promotional man, I used to have them in my apartment up in the Bronx along with Albie Shaw, along with a group that I had called FS Effect. Shout out to JoJo Brim, who's like senior vice president at Warner Brothers right now. He did the music Soul Child stuff. He did the Case stuff. Him and his brother Jimmy Manus. So his brother Jimmy Manus worked with me and for me at the time, and JoJo and a group from Mount Vernon, Amory Ware, Easy Lee Davis, and Rich Nice. Um, Not Rich Nice. Rich is gonna kill me. I can't remember his last name right now, but anyway, is they had I formed a group for Irvin Azoff called FS Effect, and we had records with Christopher Williams. We had records with Albie Shore made a record for us for the New Jack City soundtrack. It's called Black is a Force to be Reckoned with, and it was actually in the movie as well. So Lade would be coming to my house as we were putting together the graphics for the album, the sequence in the album, and these guys were the young guys. Shout out to Tone, who's a dope interviewer as well. You interviewed him, and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
this
yeah.
kid right here was special from the beginning. So during that time, they were trying to get signed to various record labels, Uptown as well. I'm not sure if it worked out or not because we were making that transition from Uptown to Motown, and they got signed to Motown. But what happened is we only lasted 18 or 20 months uh, at Motown, and then their group never came out. But I'll Be Sure had signed them to Motown along with Eddie F. But that was a group
Okay,
that
okay. So
JoJo Brim and Jimmy Manus brought to the table. Actually, they brought a lot of different artists to the table that was at my house when I was creating my, record label and getting ready to go work for Uptown as a promotional man. You know what I mean? Yeah.
okay, okay. Well, George, Jimmy mentioned about introducing you guys to Tone and Poke, who are the Trackmasters.
Mhm.
Which how does your sort of background and experience complement what they were doing? And because you mentioned working on the Allure album with the Trackmasters, so what is it that you brought to the table and that they brought?
So the track masters, they had the dope ass beats and tracks, but the music, the harmonies, you know what I'm saying? They were sampling things and putting it into perspective. And Polk was very, very, very talented with that. I was very impressed with him. But I showed him how you could take a record and take that sample and change it totally and play something and put it in a whole different key, even though it's playing in one key. If you play the right harmonies or go down a minor third or whatever to where you're at, it gives it a different flavor. So I came with the icing on the cake, basically. They would come with a basic, idea, and then they asked me to do me. And I'll listen to it and see, I ask them what type of vibe that you want, and I'll just go to work. I laid the golden fingers down, and that's what I did.
Can you give us an example of one of the tracks you did that probably had a sample, but you took out the sample and played it yourself?
Um, with Poke them. All right, so we did a record called "Forgive Me" for Anthony Hamilton, and it was really TKO by
Teddy Pendergrass.
Teddy Pendergrass, and I just slowed it down. And that's all I did, really. But it was the feel of it, how the record goes. You know what I'm saying? That's how it goes. But I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
played it straight. You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I did. And then if he wanted to change it completely, well, if it was in C sharp, so this is in C sharp. I can play in A flat. I can play in B. I mean, it's just different, relative keys that you can play in and change the music, and it'll make it sound totally different. Totally different.
And I want to say something. That's what we're here to do. We're here to educate, and uplift these young producers and teach them about music. You know what I mean? Like actually learn how to read, write, and produce music. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And that's a whole nother thing than just being able to sample. You know what I mean? And cut and paste and create a record from not playing anything but from just sampling, and piecing
Mm.
it together, and not only the music part, but the business part. You know what I mean? Because George had to go through a journey of learning the business. He's a creative person, but
Right.
the business part comes into play just is just as important, if not more important, to take
More
care of your
important.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, speaking of that, then George, because I know Jimmy steeped into the music industry business and as an executive. But for you, how tough was it to learn not just about the business, but understand about the politics of name as listed as a producer or a songwriter? What was? How did you get educated on that?
I got the front seat lesson, basically. But no, it was an experience, man. I mean, it was the best experience ever. I wouldn't do anything different. Um, I got taught a lot. That's all I can really say. I mean, I've made some mistakes, but it was the best experience that I could ever learn. I mean, they had me right up front, doing everything.
Tell
So,
us about the journey, though, George. Tell us about the pain, the suffering, and the
well,
glory.
well, yeah, from the beginning. Well, first, let me start here. Let me tell you this. So when I met Jimmy, the first time I met Jimmy, you know what he told me? First thing that came out of his mouth.
Tell them who
They
you
said,
was
"This is
with.
George Pearson."
Tell them who you was with first.
Yeah, I was. So it was me, Anthony Hamilton, and Dwight Thompson. All right, so we I think we was at Ray Middleton's shop, wherever. But first thing Jimmy says, "I don't give a fuck about you, but through business we can become friends." And I took that. I was like, "Wow, that was real abrupt, real, But then I thought about it. I said, "You know what? I'm gonna show him what I bring to the table," and I did, and we became the best friends ever. But that's what he said to me, and that motivated me, made me want to do, what I'm saying, what I do, and show him that I'm a very valuable person, and I know this music game. I can do it. But
Okay.
from that, man, listen, man, we was in a house with 30 people, man. Me, Anthony, we was in a house with Mark Sparks. It was 30 of us in Inglewood. These cats, they burnt the house down. I mean, it was all
That I
artists.
paid for.
Yeah, it was all artists. I mean, from all over. They had all of us in this one room. Me and Anthony used to be in a closet. He had one side of the closet, I had the other side of the closet, just to have some privacy. You know what I'm saying? But it was a struggle, man. Then from there, once we got the deal, they moved us. We all had our own little places and stuff, which was good. And it was a struggle, man. It was. We went through a lot of things, in the house, and just to where we at right now. It was a blessing, but it was a struggle. It
You
was.
know, we built the studio and all the homes that they were in. So, when they were 30 people, of course, all the equipment got abused and it
Yeah.
just destroyed. Then they moved to a house where it was just Dwight, George, and Anthony, and we had a studio there. So most of the work that we did with Anthony was laid on, and just the production that we did, the tracks that we sold to people, everything, they were done in the house and
Hmm.
at Queen Anne's Road in New Jersey.
Yep.
And so, you know, um, the whole thing was getting the deal. Who was getting the deal first? The first person to get a deal was Dwight. So Dwight was like, we wanted him to be like Luther Vandross or a big man because he came from Men at Work. He has that full voice, and Andre loved him, but then he wasn't that impressed with Anthony because he never really heard Anthony sing.
Right.
But once he started hearing Anthony sing, because George, myself, was playing the tracks for him, then he started putting two and two together and he realized that this guy is like Marvin Gaye, Al Green, and Bill Withers
It
all
was.
in one.
Yep.
And
But did he take it? Was he signed at
no, he
Motown
was
or?
signed to me at Polo Ground and Polo Ground Uptown.
Yep.
Okay. So
And then I
okay.
signed
So
him to Uptown MCA. And then I also signed George as a producer there. So, a lot of people didn't know George because the way we worked was with they didn't realize who George was and that he was affiliated with me until I put him with Toke and Poem. And they started making hit records. So at the A&R meetings, we would be playing these smash hit records, but giving them to somebody else. And Andre would be getting very upset. So Puff had wanted to sign, I had did a showcase. Puff wanted to sign Anthony Hamilton. That made Andre speed up and sign my whole label. All right. Yeah. So that's how that went.
Okay,
And
okay, okay.
so that's it. Musically, George was a
Yeah.
big part of getting Anthony signed, getting Dwight signed, and getting my whole production deal going. Because Andre wanted to stick me in a hole or just be a promotional man. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's out of the question. You know, I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it all.
So George, I mean, when you're working alongside the track masters, they come up with the sample and the beats, and
Yeah,
then you would come in and flavor it. So,
yeah.
or how does that work? I mean, let's say the I think you did Street Dreams remix with
R. Kelly.
Nas featuring
Yep.
R. Kelly. So when you're doing that particular track, they come up with the concept and then they bring you in, or what happens with that?
So with that track, actually, they just had the drums. Polk usually just have the drums and a little sample, little thing that he, his we call it cheeky acid, but he would have his little, feels and everything. And I would come in and dictate what key it's going to be or the movements. That was left all up to me. I can take it wherever I want. If I want to modulate or if I want to keep it in the same key or you know what I mean. So it was they just came up with they had a lot of drum beats and sample stuff, and I just did what I did. I made it mesh together, you know. But I want to say, Poke and Tone, they were very 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 on point with their stuff because they was already, the track masters. But on the
Yeah.
R&B side, it was, what I'm saying, they didn't have that music behind them like what I brought to the table. But the hip hop and all that, they were smashing them. They were killing them. I learned a lot from Poke and Tone and Steve Style. I learned a lot,
Okay.
and I appreciate it. And I shout out to them. Thank you for giving me that opportunity
Yeah.
to work with you guys. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
But we I think we're all familiar with how sometimes when you're working alongside established people, artists or producers, sometimes you because they've got the name, anyone that comes in um, takes the um, doesn't take the same level of
right.
credit on records. So a number of the things that you might have produced, you wouldn't would they would they list you as a co-producer, or would you be an assistant producer, or just somebody who just did the music and but they produced the track, or what would be the sort of a
So that was the
credits and
struggle that Jimmy was talking about. So I got on some records I got keyboard work. Some records I got producer or co-production. You know what I'm saying? And that was fine. It was really a give and take situation. You know what I'm saying? For me to get in the game and play. Well, you give me this record, I'll give you that record. We was doing a lot of bartering. You know what I'm saying? Bartering. Like, well, here I'll do this record for you. For y'all to do over here, you got to give me a record. We do it together, but you got to give me a record so I can take over here to Motown because I was an A&R at Motown. So, yeah, it was just um, it was a team effort. That's
So
all I can say.
also we had to go back and get a lot of credit. So like when the record is already pressed or the publishing is already in, you have to go
Mhm.
back. You're not going to change the credits that's on the record, but you can change the credits that you really actually get by going and changing the publishing, credits and the producer credits. So now it says on the record co-produced by George Pearson, but actually your actual credit and how you get paid as a producer, that's what matters. So
Mhm.
it doesn't
okay.
really matter what you see on the labeling. What matters is the actual credit that you really got or get. And you have to go back and straighten all that out, which most of the people, because of George's ability to make records, they wanted to keep working with him. They was more than happy to do that. So
Okay, but
like
then,
today, we have no problem with Poke and Tone or anybody else we work with that we might not have got the credit that we had deserved at that time. But we went back and took care of that. So everything is uplifted.
okay. Yeah, I mean, people would say, "Well, Jimmy, you know, you've been in the business since day one, so you should have, you know, you could have helped negotiate, make sure, look, is everything in point, or does it work like
Well,
that?
a lot of
You know,
times,
does
when you got a new producer, as George was when he first came, he was happy as hell. So he was going in the studio laying down 100 tracks that I didn't even know he was doing. We didn't get a contract for each individual track. We didn't have an agreement between us. So he was just going to lay records down and
Yeah, I was.
and leaving the masters with whoever, and then they'll take the records, and then we'll hear the record 2 years later, but from Mary J. Blige or whoever, and we didn't get any credit for it. But like I said, they was more than happy to work it out, or they're going to be more than happy to work it out.
okay. So I mean, and you know what, and it's strange because I've heard this before from yeah, I think when I interviewed Tammy Lucas, she talked about, she'll
Teddy,
be
yeah,
in the studio at Teddy's place, and they'll just be
yep,
singing, and you don't think about credits and stuff like
yep,
that because you're just in there vibing. Um, and so I remember talking to Kima from
mhm,
Total, talk what they featured
right,
on
mhm,
Juicy. Biggie just said, "Hey, why don't you guys come up and sing?" It wasn't like,
right,
"Oh, where's our credit?" So they just came up, sang because they were sitting and waiting in the studio, so it wasn't a big deal. But of course, management will come and say, "Oh no, you just don't go sing and dance
exactly.
without signing stuff up because
But
you don't
that's
get
good you
paid." So it's
brought that
later
up.
on.
And this is what I was teaching George and Anthony and everybody that was affiliated with, well, Puff as well. You know what I mean? Because Puff was an intern at Uptown. He didn't know about publishing and all that when he first met, even though eventually he became a brilliant genius at publishing, knows much, much more than me. And a genius at everything he did. But in the beginning, he didn't know anything about the music business, and he had to be taught the business of music. And so when you're involved with the business of music, you don't go in any studio without a contract, your contract, and telling
Absolutely.
people sign this, how much let's argue about the publishing right now. Let's argue about the splits. Let's argue about the writer's share. Let's argue about who is the producer. Let's make sure we have the engineer listed and we have a track and a map of everything that goes on in the studio. It's like a storyboard. And if you
Mhm.
don't have that, you don't understand the business of music. And if you don't understand the business of music, you're going to get
Right.
fucked.
Yeah, but doesn't that stifle creativity?
So
Think about it, George. So for you as a creative
if you don't
person,
have creativity, you don't have nothing. If you
yeah,
don't
but
respect the creative process, the person that's making the music, you don't ain't gonna have no music.
yeah, so you come in as a legitimately as a business person, but for yourself, George, if you're in the studio and they're saying and they just say, "I will just," the tone comes up with a sample like, "Yeah, I just heard this." No, because I remember hearing Organized Noise when they did the track for and Vogue, "Don't Let Go," and I remember. I can't remember his name saying that he just had this thing sound in his head. No, 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 no. He just kept hearing it, and he just started to play it, and then they all jumped in and created the track because he just had this sound. So you don't then think, oh, I've heard this song. Oh, let me get my paperwork out. Let's just you're thinking about the music. You're trying to lay it down, and before you know it, you've created a song, and people are coming on in. You don't really at that moment stop the creative process to say, okay, get the lawyers in, get the manager, let's just sign everything up before
Exactly.
you
But
What
that's
you
exactly
for
what you have
yourself,
to
George.
do.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yeah, you honestly,
No, I know you know how to do it now, but back in those days, were you doing it that way, or were you just going with the music
no.
and then?
Back in the day when I was doing it, man, when we would go in the studio, they would come up with an idea. What you think about this, G? Oh, that's dope. Let me see. We go up there. Let me see how you do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll go right to it. Let me find out where. And then I was like, hey, we need to sign this paperwork. Okay, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get with it. You know. And I said, well, then I just went and told Jimmy, hey, Jimmy, I was in the studio, I was in the Hip Factory, and we did such and such, such and such. I got the copy of it here. Here you go, right here. And so he had to double back and do it. But he had told me a bunch of times, man. But I felt like, and this was what's wrong, and this is what I really want to say to other producers out there. You have to get that paperwork done first. Do not go in the studio without getting some type of understanding.
We call
Because
it being happy.
yes. Now, I just wanted to be a part. I felt like because I was a part of that, Jimmy could fix it. You know what I'm saying? He can take care of it. But I'm on this record, I'm on that record, I'm on this. Everything that Trackmasters did at that time, they was putting me on it. And I was like, man, I'm doing LL Cool J, I'm doing Nas, I'm doing Mariah Carey, Allure, Jesse Pop. I mean, we was doing everybody. So I was like, Jimmy, this is what I'm doing. Jimmy, this is what I'm doing. They got me in the studio, 4 studios. I'm going from back to back. You know what I'm saying? In and out, doing them. But yes, you need to do that paperwork. I wouldn't do it no other way now. No other way. There's no way that anybody can get me in the studio to lay anything without the proper paperwork. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just we've been joined by Mr. Jeff Red. How
Mr.
you doing,
There go
Red.
my
Jeff?
man.
Hey, sir, how y'all making out?
All right.
What's happening?
Good.
We was waiting for you, man. This you called and told me. I was listening to it before I got on.
Now listen, we were so happy
That's it.
together when we first met.
Yes.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry I'm a little late. I just had a little medical procedure, so I didn't want to pass this up. So where we at right now?
No, I mean we were getting some real
We
good
talking about getting jerked in
business
the
advice.
studio.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. I know exactly where we're at.
Jimmy boy.
But Jeff, just for those who are coming in, because most of us first knew you as one of Uptown's first solo
Correct.
artists on the
Correct.
label, big hit from the Strictly Business soundtrack. But then there's a rumor that went around that, oh, Jeff discovered Mary. But then in interviews, sometimes we hear Andre talking about, I went down in Harlem, heard her sing, sang, and brought her in. But I guess it's different when you're on TV. You have to sort of spice up the story. But what was your role?
Well, I always say we all have our own point of view. And my point of view was that I was working at General Motors in Tarrytown, New York. And it was a guy named Luv Jimmy. He saw me doing a lot of shows. I probably just got my deal or hadn't gotten it yet. And he told me that his daughter sings. I said, okay, cool, we'll bring a cassette in. Because back then we was talking about cassette. We going back to like 88. And he bought a cassette in of this young lady singing a karaoke song. I don't remember what the song was. I know it was Anita Baker's song. They said it was Caught Up in the Rapture. Somebody said it's something else. Jannar Parker said he got the actual thing. I don't know. So anyway, it was Anita Baker's song. So he bought the cassette and I heard it. I said, damn, she got the voice of that time, because remember we were coming out of the crack generation around that time. And the pain that she had in her voice is something that I identify with. And I know, because coming from New York, if you wasn't, not that I was involved in the crack game in no sense, but it was all around us at the time. It's your best friend going to your mom's house, telling her, yo, is Jeff home? Oh, well, could you give me something from baby food? And she giving this dude money, and you saying, why did you give this dude money? He's going to buy crack. So it affected us all different ways. So after I heard it, I immediately called Kurt Woodley and said, yo, man, you got to get her a deal. And I said, this is the deal I made with them. I said, I wanted a point on her career and $3,000. I don't know where I came up with that number. Three, I don't know where that number came from. And they took it to Andre. I guess, then at that point, Andre signed. I don't know what happened between. I know they went to Slow Bomb and all that stuff because I had to work. I worked night shift. And the rest is history. He heard it, and they signed her right then and there.
Off the tape, or did you meet her before you talked?
No, off the tape.
It was off the tape.
Oh, they didn't even. You
They
didn't.
signed off the
You
tape. No,
personally didn't
they
get.
went to meet her. I don't know who went to the house. I have no idea.
Okay.
Eddie F said he had went to the house. Andre said he went to the house.
Right.
I don't know who went to the house. I know Kurt. I know Kurt and them probably did go to the house because Kurt was working at Uptown and he was A&R.
Right.
So that was it. And then after that, I got her her deal, and I had her singing background for me. And
so how
did
you cut your deal? How did you cut your deal?
My deal before her. How did I get on?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened is a guy named Reggie Johnson used to work with me at General Motors. Mm-hmm. So, he saw me singing and doing weddings and funerals and all that stuff. And he was like, yo, man, we had a flyer because we was hanging out back then. We was going to 371, 70 West, all those guys. What's the matter? Huh? Oh. Yeah. And we saw this flyer. It had Reggie Wells doing a show. I think it was at the Hilton Hotel in New York City. Mm-hmm. So my man Reggie said, yo, we need to call this dude and ask him, can you sing? So we called Reggie Wells, said, yo, it's this guy named Jeff Red. He's performing. Is it all right if he performs? So he said, yeah, I can't pay him. Which that lasted for like 40 years. And so he let me perform. And after that, he said, yo, you good, man. I want to turn you on to my man, Darnell Bennett. Darnell Bennett was a guy who was managing a club called Ipanemas on 52nd or 54th Street. Can't remember. Yep. And he turned me on to him. And then I did a show and then started doing, excuse me, y'all, I'm a little discombobulated. I had some, what's this?
No, that's fine.
I had some of that anesthesia. Yeah. So I'm a little coming off of that. But he let me perform, and then all of a sudden my name started getting out there. Then I started performing at Tavern on the Green, Broadway International, and all those spots. Yes, sir. And then my name got out there. So then now, okay, let me go look for a deal. So I went down to Uptown because Kurt had got me a meeting with Dre. Went to Uptown and he said, yo, I like what you're doing. Call me next week. Of course, next week never came. And but it never stopped me from doing what I was doing. So I kept doing shows. And then what happened is I did a show at the Palace in New Rochelle, New York. And Andre came down. And after the show, he said, yo, welcome to Uptown. But at that time, I had a deal with Andre because Chief wanted to sign me to his production company and Sylvia Rowan wanted to sign me to East West Records. I chose to go to Uptown because I like what they was doing over there. The guy stuff was hot. Teddy was hot, which Teddy and I worked together, but that was later on. And so I got my deal that way. And from that point on, I started making records. And that's when Mary came into the fold in 89, because I signed my deal in 88. And Mary came to the fold, and I got her deal in 89 or 90. And mind you, Mary wasn't old enough to sign her deal. She was 17. Her mother had to sign her deal. Wow. And that was it. That was my journey of getting in. And then once I got in, I put out some records, got on the Strictly Business soundtrack. And then I said I wanted out because I felt like the promotions wasn't good enough, but that was the young man ego talking. If I had somebody around me say, dude, relax, it's going to happen, I would have stayed. But Jeff Red kicked in, and I was like, I want out. He gave me out, and I went to EMI Records. Gary Harris signed me to EMI Records, and put a whole album together. EMI, the name of the album was Down Low. Now, Down Low don't mean what it means today. It's different. It's different back then. And we put out the album. Only 1,000 copies got out, and they wiped out the whole black music division, and Gary Harris got fired. So it was just 1,000 records. Fast forward to 96. Now I'm going over to, Ken Wilson brings me over to MCA Records to be the senior director of A&R at MCA Records. First project I work on is Salt and Pepper had a label at MCA. It was a song called Champagne that I A&R'd with Herbie Azo, Harry Lubbock. That record won a Grammy. And then then they wanted to put me with these two guys from a big popular group from Uptown Records, Casey and JoJo. And they said, you're going to be their A&R. So Madeline Randolph started off being the A&R. And then they gave it to me. And we put that album together. And the beautiful thing about that album is, like, a lot of people didn't believe the album was going to work because this was a totally different album. My whole purpose when I made that album, I said, I'm going to make an album that your mother can listen to. And they even had their mother sing on the album. And that was, after that, you know, I remember I played All My Life for Andre. Andre was kind of lukewarm on it. I played it for Stevie Wonder. He thought it was dope. Then I started getting the bad write-ups at Double XL. Source Magazine is like, yo, how can these four guys from this black rock band sing these candy sweet songs? It's never gonna work. Now, I remember when I first got in the game as an A&R, I ran into an old friend that I knew from the music business, Bobby Duckett. And Bobby Duckett said, yeah, I heard you going over to A&R. He said, what you got to always remember is whatever you put out, you got to stand by it. He said, don't let nobody talk you out of it, because if it's something hot, they're going to take the credit. And if it's something not hot, you're going to have to bite it and eat it. So whatever you put out, make sure you feel good about it. So I just felt great about it. And I said, yo, they just don't get it yet. And so we put out the first thing, we Bring Me Up, and then we came with Last Night's Letter, which was a ballad. And what happened is the DJ in Hawaii, which is so ironic. I knew the DJ in Hawaii, didn't know she was there. Her name was Lynn, we called her Lynn the Thrill Hill. And she was out of WWDM in South Carolina. And she played the record, not knowing that I had anything to do with it. She played the record, and all of a sudden we getting calls back to the radio station, yo, this record is blowing up in Hawaii. And the phones are jumping off the hook, so they sent it to Vegas. Then Vegas started blowing up. And long story short, All My Life became this huge #1 record. And we wound up selling 5 million albums, 5 million CDs on that project. Yeah. And, you know, we just kept doing stuff over, you know. Overall, I sold 12 million records with Casey and JoJo worldwide. Wow. And then I started working on soundtracks, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, The Hurricane, Save the Last Dance, one or two others, if I can't remember. And then I started signing acts. I signed Allure, and I signed. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Can you talk about Allure? Because George did the production on that with Trackmasters.
Right. On the first album.
Did you signed them on the first album? Okay, so when you signed them, they had Mariah. Because for those who didn't know, so they were signed initially to Trackmasters, and they signed to Mariah's Crave Records. Mariah and Tommy get divorced. Labels get disappeared, and everyone just leaves Allure in the dust. Then they, I interviewed them just last week, and they said, "Yep, we got signed by Jeff Red on MCA."
Like Superman.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And
so, from your point of view, what happened? You signed them? Did you sign them based on what you saw from their first album, or was it just?
I signed him. It was a brother from Mount Vernon. It's interesting. His name is Jesse Askew. He's not from Mount Vernon. He lives in Mount Vernon. He's from the Bronx, and God is amazing. It's funny because he came into my office. I didn't know who he was because back then we had a policy at Uptown Records. Anybody would come and take a meeting. That's why when I got in at the label, I didn't understand why they had all these security guards and stuff downstairs. People just walk upstairs to Uptown and hang out. And next thing you know, they playing records for you and everything. So I had an open door policy when I was there. And he came up, said, "Yo, I'm from Mount Vernon." I said, "Word? You got a law?" I said, "Yo, I signed the deal." And during that time, I didn't realize years later we met up. He said, "Yo, I just want to tell you something. That's why I bring God into the fold." He said, "Man, when I came down there, man, I was on my last leg." He said, "I didn't have no money. I didn't know how I was going to get back. I borrowed some money. And then when you signed the deal, man, it changed my whole life."
Mm.
So I just say, and like I said, I ran into him years later after that, because I'm going back to like 90, might be 2000. But, you know, as I speak, I always bring God into the fold. But, yeah, and that's it. Signed them and started making records. And they had a manager called Flipper, who I think he died. And
Yeah.
then they had problems with management. Then they had internal problems with the ladies. So we put out the record "Enjoy Yourself," which was a hot joint. And Hot 97 and them was playing it. And I called them up, "Why y'all ain't playing the record?" They said, "Your promo guy told us to stop playing it." I said, "Okay, why is that?" So I went back to the president. "Oh, we're trying to work another record." I said, "Yeah, but we was getting some momentum. Hot 97 that added the record." And that was it. But long story short, they got caught up in the politics. You know, so, you know, I signed them myself,
Yeah.
Melchizedek, Wyclef's brother and sister. We put out a couple albums. It was critically acclaimed. I put out an album on a girl named Reese. Reese was from Philadelphia. She had high potential, but the politics came into play because the promo and marketing department, they really they didn't get it. You know, they didn't understand what it was. But you know, after that, then that was it. I took a 15-year hiatus and went back to living life and no more shows or anything. And then George Harrell used to call me periodically, and he said, "Yo, man, you left some money on the table up here, man. Come up here and start doing some shows." So as we have it, once again, God, Mama got sick, so I had to come back to New York to take care of my mother. When I came back, George had set up like maybe 10 or 15 shows and bars and all that stuff, starting all over again. And then after 1 year, you know, built the name back up, because it was funny. We always talk about it. When I first came back to New York, people know the name, they just didn't know who I was. So, you know, when we going to do shows, after I finished doing a little show here and there, somebody would come up and say, "Yo, man, could you take a picture of me and my lady? Could you take?" So now I'm the cameraman. So a year later, now everybody want to take a picture with me. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was the hard work that we put in, George Terrell and all those guys. Because circling back now to Jimmy Jenkins, one thing that Jimmy did when I first signed to Uptown, I never forget it, man. I remember like it yesterday. It touches me when I talk about it, because he came to Mount Vernon and took me to the movies, and we went to see The King of New York. And I think we went to Bay Plaza, if I'm not mistaken. And we went to the movies, and then all of a sudden, you know, we sat down. And he said, "I'm gonna tell you something. You're in the record business now, and now the same dudes you messing with now should be the same dudes you mess with later on. All these new friends and all that is cool. You might meet one or two, but you got to stay with your core guys that you came up with." And that's something I never forgot to this day. And always thanking Jimmy for what he's done for Uptown Records, for the culture. See, Jimmy surpasses Uptown. It's the culture what he's done, because you got to say, we always talk about, we do these interviews on Uptown. That's cool, but after Uptown, I became an A&R, won Grammys, American Music Awards. I became an elected official in Mount Vernon. I've done so many different things. Jimmy came out of that. Jimmy's making movies, Grammys, and Oscar nominations. So, you know, when you talk about Uptown Records, even with Eddie F., all these guys have, Eddie was an artist, producer, went on to produce records and all that stuff for other people. And I mean, we just constantly reinventing ourselves. Even like now, I'm back performing, doing shows, working every weekend, having got a new little single out there that I didn't know anything about. It's a young girl named Kaya Baby. She's out of Queens. She sampled You Call and Told Me Sped It Up. And we had 100,000 views in like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So yeah, I'll check it out. Kaya Baby, the name of the song is Blocked. But you know, we just constantly reinvent ourselves, and I give all the glory to God. Because when you start talking about what we've done and how it was done, nobody can believe you, man. We'll believe you because, you know, we've just been blessed. It's always like when something went left, then something better came along. You know, because I look at Jimmy, I was blown away. I didn't know what he was doing. He was quiet. But see, that's how we do. We'll get silent on you and just start figuring out some stuff. You know, because, you know, Jimmy talks. So when you don't hear Jimmy talking, something's up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, then when I come to find
Yeah.
out that, and now even looking at the brother George here, and he was working with a little early on.
Mm-hmm.
It was something now he's reading. I see him in his pictures and his hat on and his suits. You know what I'm saying? He's doing something. You know what I'm saying? He ain't sitting around talking about what he used to do. You know,
Right.
so we were constantly reinventing ourselves, and that's the beauty of our culture back then. The '90s were guys who constantly just kept doing stuff, whatever it was. We bring in, if it was music, because like I said, I went from music to being a politician. You know,
Wow.
back to being an artist. You know what I'm saying? And now back to getting ready to do some work in this Mount Vernon school system again. Because I gave him 3 years as a school board trustee. And, you know, now I'm going to go back in and do some other things. You know, so that's my story of where I started, how it started, Mary J. Blige and all that.
Yeah, but Jimmy, when Joe and Jeff is saying, "Yeah, you know what? I don't think you guys are promoting my stuff well enough. I'm leaving. I'm out." Does no one say, you know, have a conversation with him, or is it like,
No,
Right.
listen to me. I told that to Andre Harrell in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that, because it's funny, I had a meet with him. He had a spot on 56th Street between 7th and 6th, if I'm not mistaken, upstairs, right, Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
That apartment. And it was funny, once again, Jeff Red Ego, young man, just want to be hot out the gate. I and didn't realize I was hot already because, I mean, everybody in the country knew who Jeff Red was. Jimmy and them worked Jimmy, Renee Gibbons, who was a product manager. They had me moving, man. I was in Oklahoma. They would call me, yo, you gotta go to Oklahoma City tomorrow. I was opening up for Roger Troutman. Then they sent me to uh, Seattle, and I was opening up for Ron Isley and Angela. What's her name? What's her name?
Angela Winbush.
Angela Winbush. I'm opening up for Angela Winbush, and now I'm in California. Now I'm in Wisconsin. Now I'm all over the country. So they was doing what they're supposed to do. I didn't have anyone in my ear telling me, yo, relax, everything is gonna be all right. So they were working their butts off. And I'm not just saying that. Jeff Red is still a household name because of what they've done. The music, yeah, it was one thing, but man, because back then you talking about promo guys, they used to give out materials when they gave you a record. Like I had a song called Love High. Love High, they gave you the CD. You had what they call motion lotion. That's when you rub it on your hand and get hot. You rub it on the girl's body. You taking her on the love high. You know what I'm saying? And they did all these things. I used to have crazy 8x10s because this is pre-internet. So they would take me to one stops. Anytime we went out to eat, they would have us sing in the restaurant. Anytime we would go anywhere, they would have us perform and sing. So they did every single thing they're supposed to do. I, on the other hand, didn't think it was enough because I didn't have the direction of someone who was in the business say, yo, relax yourself. Look at what they've done so far. Now, hindsight is always 2020. But as I look back now, the next step probably would have been the step because that's when they brought in Christopher Williams. And I think that after they did the MTV Unplugged,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I could have been on that joint. Now,
Right.
you know, things would have took off from there. And Jeff Red would have been, you know, Jeff Red. But like I said, young man ego. And you know, that's the reality of it. And I'm cool with that because, you know, I don't call them mistakes, I call it my journey.
Right.
And
Right.
not even and because I didn't do that didn't mean that life stopped for me. I went on to be an A&R, win Grammys, Oscar nominations, Soul Train Awards, American. So I went on, and now back to doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So
But did you make up with Andre afterwards? Did you have a
yeah,
chance
yeah,
to?
we never, it was never that sort of thing because we would see each other all the time and sit down and talk and all that. So it was no hard feel. I didn't harbor any feelings towards it. I just knew at that point that, once I got older, I said, damn, my ego got in the way. And, and I say that, and everybody has an ego. And sometimes
Mm,
that's all you got to go to.
yeah.
When there's nothing else, you got to go with your ego because that's the dude or the woman that's going to keep you going. So I was managing myself, so to say, because we had Reggie, we had Charlie, but then Reggie and Charlie and
And
Reggie
Kurt.
and Kurt, and all of them had went on and started managing Mary full time, and then they signed a group called For Sure, which is a brother named Damon Thomas
And
who
Livio.
and Livio, who went on. Damon Thomas went on to produce hit records for everybody, and Reggie Johnson found him and brought him to Kurt. So it was just those kind of things, man. But I do believe at that point, had I had the right people around me and telling me, to relax, it probably would have been different. But you never know.
Yeah. Jimmy, when that track blew up, what did it surprise you guys at Uptown when you called and told me it just blew up? Because it was, I mean, it's still on rotation now, but was
I
it a
was
surprise?
listening to it before I just got on here. It was on a radio station. But I wanna go back real quick before I answer that and give a shout out to Gary Harris, who's like my mentor, one of the smartest human beings and meanest human
Yes,
beings
sir.
on the planet Earth.
Yes, sir.
You know, he signed my deal at Giant Records. He worked at Uptown, taught me promotion, taught me how to go to the street, taught me how to read books, basically. He read three or
Right.
four books a day, and he was
Yes,
very
he did.
condescending, and he would tell you that you dumb as fuck in a second.
Right. Yeah.
But he was also a great teacher of everything,
Absolutely.
of a worldwide. He's the guy who put the hat on Run DMC and the leather blazer. And, he basically got fired from every job he ever had for being too smart.
Exactly. That's right.
But Brian Koppelman was his best friend,
Yep.
Charles Koppelman's son.
Yep.
EMI was rolling. He was over
Fred
there.
Davis.
Yep. He brought
Yep.
D'Angelo to the table, and
Correct.
Jeff, and he was involved with Vincent Herbert, three boys from Newark.
That's
You
right.
know, Gary was like my best friend and my worst enemy at the same time.
Right. Mm.
And I miss him dearly. And then I want to give a shout out to Kurt Woodley, who
Yes, sir.
started Uptown Records with me,
Yep.
and that's who Jeff is talking about. And then also George Harrell.
That's
George
right.
Harrell worked in promotion and marketing, and we were on the road since the beginning, the onstart of Uptown Records, promoting records everywhere. And then I want to just address, Jeff saying that he had to go because it's a process. You know what I mean? So we had a similar situation, but much more volatile with Christopher Williams.
Right. Right.
So Chris wasn't happy with the progress of his record. So like what Jeff needed to know at that time, being a young man, is like we have a system. Like I
Right.
told you the other day, when you see that Uptown Cat,
Mm,
you automatically putting the record on, regardless if you
Absolutely.
heard it or not,
Absolutely.
because we are known for hits. We are known for culture, how we walk, talk, and what we look like. Everybody had the same journey, identity, and goal there to get a hit record. So in artist development, we would train you or teach you to understand that we got to dress this way, you got to speak this way, you got to go to the program director and talk to him a certain way. You know what I mean? You can't come with the same level of arrogance as an artist that you would a fan or whatever. You got to cater to him,
mm,
the music director or the person that does the distribution, that's manufacturing the records. We had to work Like he said, we took them to everything. Where you manufactured the records? Let's perform here for them so they can understand what kind of artist you are. That's going to motivate them to press more records up on you and schedule you properly. You know what I mean? Because they're familiar
Correct.
with you.
Correct.
Right. So, everybody from the beginning of Uptown had to go through this process. And sometimes the process is strenuous and frustrating, and you're not getting what you want fast
Right.
enough.
Correct.
So, it's the process, and then, it's the outcome of the process. If you buck the system, if you go, like Uptown Records had to work MCA Records for scheduling for our artists
Right.
because they had Jody Watley, they had New Edition, they had Mint Condition, they had all these superstars when we got there. So we had to fight for positioning for our artists to get on the schedule, to be able to get a record out in a year or 2 years. So now they have 10 artists that's already scheduled to come out, superstars. Now here we come with Heavy D and the Boys, and they're brand new. And Jeff
Father.
Red or whoever,
Father
and
MC.
Father
Yeah.
MC, yeah, Mary J. Jodeci, but they had all the spots at retail positioning, and they had all the spots at radio. We have to separate ourselves, although we're a subsidiary of these guys. We have to separate ourselves and establish ourselves. Now, how did we establish ourselves? On the streets.
That's right.
That's how we, the clubs, like he just said, the clubs, the restaurants, getting up in the restaurants and singing when nobody else was doing anything like that. Going to a retail store in the Bronx and bringing Jeff up there and having him sing up there on White Plains Road in a small retail store that
right.
report your record. Then
Right.
going to the mix show DJ and, arguing with the program director to take a look at this record. So it began to, one record at a time, begin to hit. And then, but the more you had these artists with great records, you were establishing the logo. So when they seen that logo, they put that record on before they even hear the artist after a while.
Absolutely.
So in 2 years, we basically was running Universal and MCA with Uptown Records.
Yeah, but when his track, when that you called and you told me when it blew up, was it? You think it was the movie that helped the record go
No, it was
big,
the
or was
record
it
that
the
helped the
record that
movie.
helped the movie?
It was the record that helped the movie because our whole thing with Jeff was grown and sexy. That was his market. You know what I mean? His market was all the clubs that he had mentioned to you earlier. Those people that had grown up a little bit, and the film represented the Red Parrot, or it represented Leviticus, or it represented a certain period and time and culture where you would see Eddie Murphy in a club with 20 women. And if you were sitting at a table and you had 10 women with you, he sent his bodyguard over to say, Eddie wants to talk to your women, and
Yeah.
would they like to come over? You know what I mean? And then Mike Tyson will come in, and he got 20 women. And then you got Reggie Wells, you got what's his name? Kevin Woodley. That
Kevin
was the
Woodley, Sugar
DJ.
Daddy.
Right, Sugar Daddy. You got all these people that you had to try to fight for positioning because they was already
Correct.
playing Jody Watley. They was already playing New Edition. They was
Right.
already playing certain records, and you have to
Loose
fight for
ends.
position. Like like with rap, you have fight for positioning to get a rap record played in these type of clubs. I call them the hard bottom shoe blazer jacket clubs.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The Andre Harrell clubs. That's what it was. And then the culture starts to shift. But Jeff had made records, that related to they were timeless. You know what I mean? Before, what was the record before you called and told me?
It was I Found Loving.
I Found Love. That's a smash hit record that was already a smash hit. And then Jeff came and redid it and made it his own. and it was a smash hit before we get to, You Call and Told Me. So he
Right.
was already established and ready to go. What film does, it just makes it creates longevity for your record. It's not never going nowhere. Every time someone sees that film, they're gonna hear that record in there,
Right.
and that record is here forever. And that record, that was our first.
Oh, looks like
That
Jimmy
was
might
our
have just.
first, one of our first
Okay.
major films, and that was
Yeah.
Holly Berry's first project that she was really, the star in it.
Right.
And
And Sam
that record
Jackson.
fit perfect with it. And so when I went to BLS, all I gotta do is just work, the adult stations and the mix shows. And they chopped that record up, and here we are right now. And
Yeah.
he could work off that record, and I found love for the rest of his life.
But that's
Yeah.
due to there being solid records, but due to the promotion, like I was telling you early on, with Jimmy, George, Renee Givens, A.D. Washington, all these people. A.D. Washington was another guy that was at MCA. He was a promotion guy there, and Bo Sampson and all these people around the country. Mark Green, because
Mm-hmm.
Mark was there too. All these people around the country that was in your face every day talking about Jeff Red. Jeff Red. So here we are now. Mind you, that record came out 34 years ago.
Yep. So
And here
Bo
we are.
Sampson, Lou Tucker, Tonya Salvant,
Yep. All of them. And
Rhonda
then,
Nolan,
yep.
everybody that there's so many people that I'm forgetting to say their
Yeah,
name.
I am too, so don't hold that against
They
me.
getting ready to start beating me up as soon as I get off this call.
Exactly.
No, but
Oh, Novice Johnson.
and we're gonna.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but no, people keep asking what for today, because a lot of us are starved of classic R&B. Not just the singing, but the lyrics and the production. I would look and say, George, have you forgotten how to produce? Or Jeff, have you forgotten how to sing? What stops you guys from replicating the success of the 90s and controlling and making stuff that you were making back then? I mean, I know you're probably not going to get the budgets aren't the same. Our fans aren't able to buy records as we used to, so we just pretty much listen to them. But what stops you guys from, George producing a hit track right now, and Jeff getting in the studio and singing, and Jimmy's there promoting it and using it to build brands and using the music to sort of cross market across film and television?
You first, Jeff.
Okay, life. Life happens, man. You start having them babies and you start doing that stuff, man, and now you working 9 to 5. And by the time you get off, it's no excuse. But the reality of it is life kicks in. So yeah, now I put out records. I put out some records. I'm getting ready to put out a house a house EP in a couple of weeks, and I still been putting them out. You haven't heard them, but I've been putting out records online, Dance Dance Dance, Forevermore, all kinds of stuff. So I'll send you some stuff that I've been putting out, and this has been over the years.
Okay.
I have a song, Get Into It, Big Daddy Kane. I never released it, so it's just I still been doing. I was in the studio this week, so I'm still creating and making records. I just did a interesting. It's not even a project, man. I always wanted to do a doo-wop song. And I ran into this a buddy of mine who I grew up with. His name is Ira Jackson. He has a doo-wop group, the OGs of the OGs of acapella, something like that. I can't remember. But we did like our rendition of So Much in Love. And so I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm going to do a jazz project. So it's never stops. It's just that the masses don't get it, but eventually they'll hear it because all it takes is one. And now everybody's going back and seeing what you were doing. So you constantly doing it. So, but to answer your question, life happens. You got to work. You got to put food on the table and pay your bills. But also, and that's why I tell people, sometimes you have to make a conscious effort to stay focused. And again, like I said earlier, not having the right people around you to constantly say, "Yo, this is it," because you have so you, as artists and people who are creative, and I can definitely put Jimmy in the creative spot because not just wasn't a promo man. You have to be creative to promote what they were doing. These guys would create gold parties and the album ain't even gold yet. You know what I'm saying? And so it was these guys that were creating. When you're creative, that's all you want to do is create. And it's no nonstop. So, I'm still creating. Just a long story short. Like I said, I got the Kaya Baby record that she just put out with she sped up, you called and told me. It's called Block. Y'all gotta check it out, the video. I'm actually in the video. And still doing certain things. Still doing things. Now go ahead, George. I'm sorry.
I want to tell you something before George says so. You got to make your past pay for your future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And, you got to take this music now, put it in the film, do whatever, just take it to the next level. Because that's
Right.
the next step of what you already made. They're going to put it in the next film for you. I just
Yes.
put I'll Be Sure's Night and
Night and
Day.
day in that
It,
Tupac joint.
yeah,
Yeah,
Tupac, Give Mama.
I bugged out when I heard that joint. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
okay.
so that's what we doing right now. We just working working music and film right now to take all our music to another level. The stuff you did in the past and the stuff that you getting ready to do in the present. So I'm sorry, George, for
Yeah.
butting
Oh
you.
no, that's
I had
fine.
to
Go
throw
ahead,
that in
George.
there, baby.
So for me, I'm like Jeff. I'm still recording. I'm doing a lot. I have some music that you haven't heard and people haven't heard, but I have a lot of music, man. I've never stopped creating music.
But
And
tell them what some of the incredible groups that you've worked with, like
out of
Ohio
Cleveland,
Players. Yeah,
well for
yeah. Let them know
Cleveland,
that.
well I had the opportunity to work with the Ohio Players. I had the opportunity to work
Wow.
with the Daz Band, the Kinsman Daz Band. Yeah, it
Dope,
was.
dope.
I've worked with a few other the local big names that are here. I worked with the
Gerald
Rude Boys.
Levert.
Yeah, I was playing with the Rude Boys. I had the opportunity to work with them. Um, yeah, but like I was saying, but I still record to this day. I have a lot of music. It never stops, man. For me, it's just looking for the right artist. You know what I'm saying? Because you can make music all day, but you want to make that music marry with the right artist, so it projects, it
Send,
moves people. You know what I mean?
send me over a club banger, man. I'm ready to go. I'm set up
Hey,
now.
listen, man. I got something, Jeff. I've been wanting to work
Mm-hmm.
with you from the beginning, man.
All right, nigga.
We didn't have the
Long,
opportunity
long.
when I came to Uptown. Your album was already done, but I always wanted to work with you, bro.
Well, we gonna do it then, man. For
Yeah,
sure.
I want
absolutely.
you. He worked with the Daz band. I want you to recreate that Daz, the school jazz.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
nice tune.
Yes.
That's a real nice tune. But yeah, the music for me, man, it's never stopped. It has never
Hmm.
stopped, man. Every day I'm always thinking about some music, and any time I can get into the studio and record, I love to do it. And I try to reach out to different artists, new artists, and and share that love, and try to create different things, and then expose people to different stuff. But
Hmm.
but I got some stuff right now that I have I see for like Chris Brown. I have some pop songs that I want Jimmy to help me get them to the right people. And
Hmm.
maybe Jeff might be, maybe you can write
Hmm.
it on,
Hmm.
write it for us
Yeah.
and put it
Absolutely.
in the loop.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
yeah, the music business it has never stopped for me. It has never stopped. I've been constantly recording. I have a bunch of music. Just waiting for the right artist though. You know what I'm saying?
That's
You got
it.
to be selective of who you put your stuff on. Can't just put it on anybody.
Right.
Yeah. I
So
think
Yeah,
that the music business is the business of music is an addiction, and you're never really going to step away from it once you've been involved with it. This is a gift and a curse, kind of. Because the gift is that you love what you're doing.
yeah,
The curse is you might not get paid all the time for what you're doing.
Right. Right.
And, you know, but you still do what you love. And as long as you are persistent, you are always going to win. And
right.
the
Correct.
way I made the transition from music to doing music and film is that I just stayed persistent at what I wanted to do, and I set a goal for myself. And I always wanted to produce and then direct films, and it's not an easy process to get to. You have to go through the same type of strenuous learning you had to do in the music business. You know what I mean? And they're two very much the same, but very much different businesses. You know what I mean? Where a lot of stuff that you concerned with in the music business, they're not concerned with that. Like they're not concerned with sharing somebody's publishing or taking somebody's publishing in the film business. They're concerned with buying your publishing for that particular film. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Or
Okay.
buying it out, period. Right.
Yeah.
It's not the same mentality. That's what I'm trying to say, though.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you have to, a friend of mine, Pearson, always says this: you have to pivot, and you have to have multiple different businesses within this entertainment business. You have to be
Correct.
writing a book. You have to be, trying to create a film.
Hmm.
Um, Scoring of music. Just because you make music, that don't mean you're getting hired as a music supervisor or someone that scores music.
Hmm.
Correct.
You have to force your way into all of this stuff. Like, you have to prove that you can do that. They don't just come and hire you because you made 100, you produced 100 records. They're not letting you score a film because of that. Not no major film production. You have to prove that you can do that. And the way you do that is doing indie projects, small projects, and then people start to see your body of work. It's just like making records.
Yeah.
You start seeing your body of work, you more respected then, you know.
Yeah. I mean, just think about you, George. I mean, are you? I mean, I know you. It's a pity you moved away from your keyboards. I was wondering if there were if Jimmy ever organized Uptown Unplugged, and we get people like George, Jeff, and Al, and Christopher, and a few others to do like an unplug, like get their, what, when they were doing the verses, and Teddy had the whole band set up,
Yep.
and they all said, "Oh, that's too much," and eventually they went back and says, "Yeah, I think you had a good idea," but trying to recreate just doing Uptown Unplugged, and even Father MC, just did stuff. I mean, could you guys envision just doing stuff like that? Just
Absolutely.
I mean,
because it's all about social
honestly,
media.
if you think about
Yeah,
it, Andre being such a heavy influence on Cassidy, that's what that is.
Yep.
yeah,
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 Hmm.
Pastor
Yep.
Mike is that.
And
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 go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
No, and like I told you about the gala that we getting ready to put on
That's
in
what I was.
November
Yeah.
13th. So that's why I wanted you to finish, Jeff. So
Mm,
this is where all of these people get their ideas from. The idea that I had when we were going to do the film, the Uptown film at BET, and it didn't
right,
work out.
right.
But then I took the idea of, you know, instead of just going straight in and doing a documentary and all that kind of stuff, let's do something live. And now on November 13th, we honoring Andre at Carnegie Hall, and it's a
Amazing.
gala, and we're gonna stream it live, but we're also gonna film it, and we're gonna film it, and it's gonna be like the Dave Chappelle block parties. One day, film, we're interviewing all the artists there, all the people in the audience, all the people that had a contribution in the hand of Uptown Records, and it's gonna be a celebration of Andre Harrell's life and Uptown Records. You know what I mean? And it's beyond, is beyond Uptown, because we're really focusing on the person that started all this, which is Andre Harrell, his contribution, and he touched people outside of the record business. Like,
Correct.
like there's so many people like Mick Jagger or Leonardo DiCaprio or Robin Thicke and
Yeah.
Babyface, and outside of just the realm of Uptown. Like he was a mentor to Jay-Z, as well as Puff and Irv Gotti's whole catalog is based on Uptown. If you listen
Right.
to his whole every record he ever made was an Uptown record. You know what I
Yeah, he
mean?
did I Found Loving Over with Ashanti too. That's just,
Exactly. You
yep.
know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's what it is. And the thing is that and Jeff is right about you know, uh, us coming together. You're right about that. Us coming together and doing a Uptown Unplugged. The thing about it is so many groups that you start insulting people when people are not, invited.
Right, right.
You know, and there's so much. What we also forgot is the musicians as well as the writers. Like
Correct.
there's a writer I always refer to her, Terry Robinson.
That's right.
Yeah, Terry
Ter-
Robinson is the most amazing songstress. Period. You know
yeah,
what I
she
mean?
wrote Real Love and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And
Hmm.
Father MC's all that, One Night Stand and
Hmm.
a bunch of stuff. So and then also we gotta also give credit to Father because he gave birth to Jodeci and Mary J. Blige.
Hmm. That's correct.
They both was
Yep.
on his records, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And if it wasn't for
That's
him,
what that was their first appearance. That's correct.
yep. So, we gotta also pay respect to him because he put his work in for Uptown. Everybody did. When we made
Yeah.
Jeff's album, it was an incredible album, you know. And then when we made Chris's album, and Chris's album was incredible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that they were both great albums, and I do wonder, Jeff, because I think the only person who was because when you came out, if you think about Uptown, um, it was hip R&B and hip hop kind of stuff. But you were always, you kind of dressed as if you were the suits, still smart, and so
Because that's what we was
was
about.
it
Yeah, that
Grown and
that was
okay?
sexy.
You're trying to
my
get him a modern
well,
day kind of Luther
well
Teddy.
my
What
whole
was it?
direction. Excuse me. My whole direction came from the hustlers back in the 70s from Harlem. It was a dude named Cowboy. He wear chaps and all that stuff in Harlem because my family, Charles Huggins and them, they had a restaurant on 125th Street called Charles Gallo. And I would go there most of the time. And there'd be certain times Nicky Barnes and them would come in at night and shut the whole restaurant down and stay there till wee hours of the morning. And I remember seeing them guys pull up in Eldorados and all that sort of stuff. And it was something that just blew my mind. So they had on the cowboy boots. They had on the leather jackets. They had on the cowboy hat. Because if you remember, I think that was in the 70s when Teddy Pendergrass had wore
Right.
that cowboy hat on the cover of one of his albums. Life is a Song Worth Singing, if I'm not mistaken. So that's where my style came from. 70s cats from Harlem that was getting money and doing well. And that's
But then
almost how Andre described me to the record label.
yeah, but yeah, and I'm coming out in '89. You're thinking Keith Sweat was probably, I mean, who were the Tony Terry? I mean, who were
Keith
the
Sweat's Harlem. Keith Sweat had on the shirts, the silk shirts, the blahs the cats was wearing back then. We bought a lot of that stuff back from the 70s, not the 80s, the 70s. That was a great moment for music as well, the 70s.
But I'll tell
yeah?
you this: when you think about Harlem and you think about Uptown and you look at that cat and you look at his beeper and you look at his Nikes and
Yeah.
his stance and that
And his
car,
and his chain around his neck.
that's that was
That's dope.
that was hip hop 70s. Jeff is talking about what we built Uptown off of. When I tell you about the Red Parrot, when I tell you about Mel Gwynn's, when I tell you
Bentleys.
about Bentley's, Silver
Silver
Shadow,
Shadow.
when I tell you about that, that's an uptown hustler, gangster, blazer jacket, hard bottom shoes. I got the
Correct.
BMW outside before,
Correct.
right. I got the Eldorado, convertible Eldorado outside. And I
Correct.
got, these type of cars. I got the right medallion on. This is
Yes.
what we represented. We represented the Harlem Street gangster, educator as well. The Zora Neale Hurstons, the Langston Hughes, the Lucky Luciano, the
Yeah.
Oni Maddens who owned the Cotton Club, their sense of flavor, style, Nicky Barnes, Bumpy Johnson, and all these kind of people that were heavy influencers during that time in the 70s. So right in that time, we drinking Piper champagne, Piper Hensink champagne with
Cavassier.
Cavassier or Remy Martin.
Cavassier, that's right.
All right.
And if you partake, a little candy with that. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
that was the cocaine champagne era.
You know what I'm saying? That's the candy. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And if you smoked marijuana, you was a bum.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Nicky Barnes appears in 1976 on the cover of New York Times in a pose that says Mr. Untouchable.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the epitome of Harlem right there.
Yeah.
And that's what every young kid in New York wanted to look, young black kid from Harlem and the Bronx wanted to look like that in Mount Vernon. Because
Absolutely.
when you came from Harlem, you moved to the Northeast Bronx. When you got a little bit more money, you moved to Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you
Yes.
come from Brooklyn, you move to Queens. You got a little bit more money, you move to Long Island.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that was the mentality. That's what makes us different. But we're the same. We're New York, but it makes us very different.
Yeah, I mean, you know, talking about the future, because I know we reminisce about the past, but um, George, are you saying that you're looking for? I mean, it'd be great to do something with Jeff because
Yeah, that's done already. That's
Yeah,
he's the
done.
legend.
yeah,
Okay,
That's done.
so
Mhm.
that would be an awesome
We was
thing.
plotting on that
But George, are
before
you
we
still
got on the
looking?
phone.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's done.
okay. George, are you still looking for what singers, songwriters to do some work
always,
with, even though
always.
that?
I'm
Oh,
always looking for new talent to lace a track or something that I have. Like I said, I have over 1,000 tracks, just tracks that just sitting back waiting, because every
Mhm.
day I hear something. Like how you were saying earlier, my mind, I could be just sitting here talking to y'all, and my mind still, I be hearing things in my head, and it's just, I hold until I can get a chance to lay it down. But yeah,
Mhm.
I,
but since your days no longer with the track masters, are you then able to do the programming and before you came with
yeah.
the instrumentation? Now are you able to do the whole thing without relying on, say, the beat
Oh yeah,
makers?
absolutely. Jimmy beat me up about that a long time ago. He used to be like, "Man, listen here. I need you to get them drum programming, get it hard, rough." I was like, "Yo, man, okay, I got it. No, get it. So yeah, I've been able to accommodate that and not steal, but take from what Trackmasters showed me. Um, Polka Tone. I work with Clark Kent.
Mhm.
And a
Chad
couple of
Elliott.
people, yeah, Chad Elliott, but it was a couple of people that Jimmy put me with, just for the drums, so I can get the feel, the New York
Mhm.
Harlem, that hip hop feel. Cause see, I come from a gospel jazz background,
Okay.
so the hip hop, I listen to hip hop, but I grew up listening to jazz and gospel music because I used to play. Well, I still play in church every Sunday. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But that's where my roots came from. And then the hip hop, once I got up in New York and started messing around with Rakim and all these other guys, it just opened my ears up. So yeah, I can make the beats, the whole beat. But I like working with other people because the chemistry that you come up with. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
a whole
Absolutely.
different vibe. You know what I'm saying? Because I hear something one way, and he might hear it a totally different way.
But
You know what I mean? And it's the same thing, but he might just play it, just move or something differently, and changes the whole atmosphere of it. So I love collaborating with guys though, definitely. So I'm looking forward to working with Jeff. That's
absolutely.
yeah, I'm looking forward.
Absolutely. Me as well.
Yeah, I mean, George, were you a fan of You Called and You Told Me?
Mhm.
Huh?
Were you a fan of the track You Called and Told
Yeah,
Me?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that was done by came out of NEF's camp, Dave Hall, and a brother named Eric
Oh
Miltail.
yeah.
The other day I was just sitting back thinking about all the
Dave Holly
joints
Hall.
that Dave Hall did, man. This
Yeah.
dude did so many records, man.
Man.
God, Dave Hall he is incredible.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
you know,
man.
and he's from Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
But there's
He's
a
from
whole Mount
so
Vernon
you.
he's from Mount
constituency.
Vernon.
Yeah. Y'all
Yeah.
got a whole crew of guys. Pete
Yep.
Rock, CL Smooth, Eddie F. Just a whole
It was crazy.
lineage.
JB Smooth,
JB Smooth. Yep.
you know,
Everybody,
yeah,
at one time, Mount Vernon definitely made their mark in the music business, even till today. You know,
absolutely.
yeah,
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 absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
just,
what I
They
mean
said
by
Timmy Allen
making
did
it.
some dope stuff on your
I'm
album,
sorry.
Jeff. Timmy
Timmy
Allen
Allen, my
did
main
some.
man. Timmy Allen's from I want to
Harlem.
say he's from Harlem, but he think he's originally from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
And he was the one that produced the Love High record and a record he produced Love. No, he wrote Love High and produced it, and he produced the song Surrender that's on the album. I forgot who wrote the song, but he produced that. And he was amazing. And because of Timmy Allen, that's how I first got the song Love High. Because quick story, I'm downtown hustling, trying to get our flyers to my show I'm doing at Ipanemas. This lady walks by and she says, she takes the flyer, looks at it, looks at me, looks at it, looks at me. She said, "It's you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm performing." She said, "You sing?" She said, "Yeah." She said, "I'm gonna have my husband come by and check you out, see if you're any good." That was Timmy Allen. Timmy Allen came to the show that night, and her name is Johnny May, by the way. She's a great actress. She's on TV all the time. And Timmy Allen came, saw me perform. He said, "I got a song just for you," and that song was Love High.
Wow.
And from that point on, we built a bond. He's a big brother. I still speak to him. I actually reached out to him not too long ago. But Timmy Allen was playing with the group. What's the group that did Change? The group Change. That did Holiday and Glow of Love and all that stuff. You know, he
And
was like one of the
change that
Change.
Luther Vandross in it.
Correct. And
Hmm.
he was a great bass player and he's a great big session bass player. And he went on to make he discovered High Five. He also discovered Chris Brown.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Yeah.
and to show you how it's 6 degrees of separation, he was very influential with Teddy as well.
Okay, that I didn't know. Okay.
And also did a publishing situation at Zomba with
Right.
Teddy and everything like that. You know what I mean? And
Okay, he was.
yeah,
I didn't know that, Jimmy.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
everything is all 6 degrees of separation.
And it's and if you and as you see at time, it's all the same people.
Yep.
That's why I keep saying we keep reinventing ourselves. Now
Right.
that Jimmy's in movies, so now we got somebody in movies.
We gonna be
You
in
know,
movies.
right? We got
We
Yeah.
gonna definitely
me and
be
you,
in
Jeff.
movies.
We gonna be
right.
in movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I'm in, politics. Yeah, I got somebody in politics. George is in that. We got somebody there. So that's how I really look at Uptown is a
Tentacles.
yes, tentacle. Absolutely perfect. The octopus should have been the logo.
Right.
Yeah.
With a medallion
Yeah.
and a B-boy
Yo, that's
stamp.
crazy. Yeah, should have been. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
George, I was doing that. George was your nickname Golden Fingers
So
because of.
that came about by Jimmy. Jimmy named me that. When I came up there and I started playing and I started doing my thing, Jimmy said, "You know what? You're gonna be Golden Fingers from Cleveland somewhere." He used to be like, "Yo," I was like, "Why you say Cleveland somewhere? Because it's somewhere, but you Golden Fingers." But yeah, he named me that, and it stuck
and
with me.
that's a Richard Pryor, Cleveland somewhere. And so Richard Pryor is my favorite comedian. George
Yeah.
comes from Cleveland. He was playing with the OJs. He playing with was it Gerald Levert? He
Well,
was
no, I played with the Rude
but-
Boys, and it
yeah,
was Gerald
but
Levert's group.
you was
Yeah,
connected to
Yeah. So
them
this
yeah,
is.
like the OJs because their presence
Cleveland,
in
Ohio.
Cleveland is massive.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm,
that's their town. You know, yeah.
George, did you do the piano on Round and Round with
Yes.
Mary on Share My
Yes.
World?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, are you able to play it? I mean, I know you're away from your
Play that.
keyboards, but I didn't know if you, if you were able to go and play that,
Well,
because
play that. Dun,
you
dun,
know
dun,
that
dun, 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 when we get a chance after Round
no,
and
I
Round.
think we, because Round and Round was dun dun
Yeah.
dun dun, yeah,
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, he knows what it is.
And I just played some chords with it. But all I was is just that. But when you layer it and put other sounds on it, it makes it bigger.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
yeah, man, I did a lot of stuff with track masters. For Mary, the Round and Round, to Keep Your Head Up, and now the Keep Your Head Up is the same song as for Nas, Street Dreamer. It's the exact same music, just slowed down. Nobody even realized that. The same track for Keep Your Head. Keep Your Head Up. Keep your head to the sky. That Mary did. It's the same thing for the Street Dreamer remix. It's the same.
Did what about the Gordon Chambers Mary J. Blige record that you did for?
Well, I
Allure?
did. No, that was Mary worked on. I did. It was for Allure, and it was. I apologize. It was a song on there on Allure that we did, and then it was
What
another
about
song.
Dear Mama? What was that? Mama?
Yeah. Mama Said, that was it.
Right.
Mama Said.
That
was the record. Mama Said.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah.
And then when you did the remix with Michael Jackson's "They Don't Care About Us," what part did you play?
So I did all the music. Once again, every time that I would go in the studio, track masters would give me a track with the drums and maybe a little sample, a little something, or something that just a little line or something that he heard. Pope, and I worked a lot with Pope, and then I would just listen to it. Then I would listen to the vocals and see where the vocals, what key it would be in, and then I would just go and play around that. That's all. So it was easy, man. It was really easy. It wasn't hard at all. It was just me doing what I do.
So when you look back at all the things you did in the 90s and at your height, then, what would you say would be your top 5 favorite tracks that you were involved in?
Well, since you asked that, "Hate Me Now," I did that one. So now, but let me elaborate on that song, "Hate Me Now." So when I got to the studio, the track was already done. They had created the track already. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, it wouldn't clear. They couldn't clear the sample. So what I did, I turned around and replayed everything. But then I changed a few movements. You know what I'm saying? If they went up, I'll go down. I mean, I played everything. So the song got accepted because it wasn't a sample, and I played everything. I played that.
Recreated the bass line.
Yeah, I created all the music, the drums and all that was.
Are you able to replay it? Are you able to replay what you did?
I ain't gonna lie to you. That's all I did. And like I said, just layer, put other sounds on that. But it was real simple. It was nothing. But you use strings and you got to make it dark because Damien, that was real dark, at that time. So you use some strings and you just layer and that's all.
Play that Black Street record.
Well, you talking about the
yeah, play that.
know what I'm saying?
But where did you play that? What did you produce that
No,
anywhere?
I work with Poke. You know, they had the idea. Once again, they had the idea and everything, and I just messed around with it while they was doing. But most all that stuff, they had another cat named Time that was playing keyboards for them.
Give me time.
I think he passed away or something. So I came in after that and cleaned up a lot of stuff that they had. But he had laid down some really, really nice tracks. Really nice
Okay.
for them.
So you've got "Hate Me Now" as number. What are the other 4 tracks?
So I got "Hate Me Now." I got the "Head Over Heels." I love that track, "Head Over Heels." And then we got what is that? Oh my goodness, I got me. My mind is gone. But yeah, I did the Anthony Hamilton, the Mary J. Blige. What else? Foxy Brown, the Ill Nah Nah. I did all the interludes.
Anthony Hamilton, "You're My Type of Woman."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so with the Allure, I did like about 9 songs on that Allure album. I did a lot of work with them. A lot of work.
Were you in the studio with them
Yeah.
recording, or were you just?
Them I was.
Okay.
Yeah. Them I was actually there. Yep. Yeah, I got the opportunity to meet
so
them.
You had,
yep.
Yeah, so you had 2 green industry people just not realizing that you're doing all the work and the money's going somewhere else.
Listen, like I said earlier, I think that I was the music business best kept secret for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But now I want people to know what I did, because, you know, I say it and people, you know, they look at me, well, you did what? You ain't do that. And, you know, they think that you didn't do it. So I said, you know, instead of being quiet all the time, it's time for the world to know that I really did these records, what I contribute to the music business. And it's like Jimmy said, it's time for my past to pay for my present. And so that's where I'm at right now. But
just quickly, yeah, a lot of people, the Terry Robinson, Anthony Hamilton, "I Will Go," that was for the New York Undercover soundtrack, and which was a beautiful soundtrack, by the way. Did you come up with the music first, or did Terry and Anthony write the lyrics and then how did that come up?
Me and Pope did the music. We always usually do the music first, and then they would come and write the songs. But most of the time we had all the music together. Now maybe they might have had something in their mind and they applied it to it, you know, the track that we had. But all the tracks that we did, me and Pope did them ahead of time. We had the music, then we'll have a session where they come in the studio and write. Anthony used to write right there. Him and Terry, they used to write right there in Chung King Studios. Wow. They was, as soon as we do it, they would come and we would lay the track down, and while we were laying the track, they would be in there writing. And then as soon as we finish laying the track, they go right in the booth and put the backgrounds down, do the hook. So yeah, it was a great time, man. Great time.
So what does Tone do if Poke and you are doing most of it? What's his
Tone did the same thing. He was he programmed songs, you know what I'm saying, with drums but see, I just don't want to say it was programmers, because they took music of other people playing and was able to put it together. You know what I'm saying? And that took an ear, because you needed to hear and know, you know what I'm saying, even though they don't know what A or G flat or whatever it is, but they was able to listen to the music and tie things together and make it in the right key. Yeah. That's what I really loved about Poke and Tone. They even though they didn't know the music to say, oh, well, this is what I'm doing, but they had the ear to actually marry different things and put together. So when
let me say this, George, the thing about Tone is that Poke was the A&R for Uptown Records. So Poke had him and George work the most together. But there were songs that George did just with Tone by himself as well. So he was doing the same thing that Poke was doing. He just didn't do it on as many tracks.
Right.
Okay.
We worked on Billy Lawrence. That was another artist that I did that with Tone. You know what I'm saying? And Jesse Powell, God rest his soul. But I worked with Tone with that. And Pope worked, you know, we all worked together. We all worked together on all the stuff. Anything that them guys did at that time, from 94 to about 2006, I was on it. Anything that they did, I was pretty much on it. And a shout out to Steve Stout and all of them. I like I said earlier, I appreciate the opportunity. I would never do anything different because it was the best time ever. Work.
Did you work? Because they did a lot of work on the Mr. Smith and the R. Kelly R record. Were you on them
I
with
worked
them?
with him with the Will Smith. Yeah, I did some stuff with them with that.
No,
No,
no, no,
Mr.
no.
Smith,
Mr. Smith, the
LL.
LL Cool
Oh
J.
yeah, yeah. I worked with yeah. LL because LL did a song with us on Allure. He's he's
Yeah,
got a
yes,
song
yeah.
on Allure. I did that with Pope. Yeah.
Okay, but you didn't do like Hey Lover, and because Tony Pope produced a lot of the Mr. Smith.
Hmm.
Did you when he was doing Hey Lover with Boyz II
Well,
Men?
I contribute some keyboard work to them
Yeah.
at that time. You know what I
Okay.
mean? I didn't do production. I didn't get no co-production and everything like that. But I did contribute to those some of those records. Yes,
But
yes.
there was a remix you
Okay.
did with him, LL remix. What was that?
No man, I can't remember which LL remix because it was so
There's
many,
still a lot of
Jimmy. You
stuff.
know that it
Yeah.
was so much stuff
Yeah,
that was going on at that time. You know, like I said, I
yeah.
was trying to get my hands on everything, put my fingers on anything that was, and Trackmasters was like the hottest thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, they were, I think, yeah, they did a lot of stuff for Def Jam, Def Soul. So yeah, if it was uh were they Jimmy, were they all part of the whole Violator, with
No,
that was,
well,
that
I'll tell you
connection?
how it all starts. At 4th Avenue on Warren Street, Uptown Records. You got Tone. He wanted to be a rapper called Red Hot Lover Tone. All right. And he hung
I
around.
think
He
I'd
was a
seen him on
young
a few
kid,
tracks.
16, 17 years old. He was on Select Records.
Oops, just lost Jimmy
Yeah, I
there.
think he got a
Okay.
bad connection there. Something.
Yeah, no, I think some people are calling. Well, that's what happens when
Okay.
people call.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So how do people, if people want to try and get in touch with either, for them to write lyrics or to do some, get, how can they get in touch with
Well,
you?
now I would say go through Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather them go through Jimmy because right now handle the business part. Like I said before, you even come to me, handle the business part. I got your back. I can make it hot, do whatever I need to do for you, but let's handle the business part first. You know what I'm saying? Let's definitely give me a a producer's agreement or anything, just anything. You know what I'm saying? Something in writing. But go through Jimmy. If you want to work with me, go
Mm,
through Jimmy. But I'm available.
yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. So I guess we're looking. But are you ever doing your own, say, George Pearson presents and getting undiscovered talent and doing any sort of work with
So
them?
a few years back, I thought about. So I have some songs that I did that didn't some local artists and stuff that sound really good. So I thought
Mm.
about how Quincy Jones has Q's joints. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
doing a G's joint, but you know what I'm saying. But I I'm not Quincy Jones. You know what I mean. But I have a lot of music, man, vocal up that didn't get heard or get out there. You know what I'm saying? From just meeting people and all right, well, come on in the studio, let's record and see how it sounds. And then something might happen where they might be, they get lost or whatever. But I still have the records. You know what I mean? So I have a lot of music like that I think is nice. But I've just been holding on to it. Waiting for the right time.
But would you ever do a George Person presents and then you have people re-singing your top 10 favorite track that you produce? So maybe some of the stuff we did with Allure or Ella, you just get people to unknown artists or stuff to sing on it, and you're reproducing the tracks outside of Trackmasters.
Well, it has to be hot. It gotta be right. That's all I can say. I mean, I would. I'm not prone to not doing anything like that, but it's got to be hot. That's all. It has to be
Mm.
right. That's all. Because those artists that we did do those records on, they it, it, they laid it out. You know what I'm saying? They did a real good job. So if you get an amateur trying to come up and sing some of that stuff, you have to be real creative and do better than what the original is. You know what I mean? So it can be received, properly.
Yeah. So when you think about the track like Stilo, I mean, who started the process of getting Stilo made?
Who started it?
Who started? So did Chat come up with a beat and an idea, then you came in and
No,
joined in, or did you come up
no.
with it?
How Stilo was made? When I went to Chad's house, and he played me some samples. I said, "Give me that sample right there. I need you to put some drums to this sample right here." He was like, "This one right here." I said, "Yeah." I picked the sample, what it was going to be. I already had the music in my head. Once I heard the sample, I was like, "Oh, I know what I could put with that." And so I pretty much did that. I knew the music already, what I was going to do. I just needed to write, other music, the drums and everything to bring it to life. But yeah, I put that together.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's
I'm
fine, because you
still
just
under influence, man, right now.
no,
It's all right, bro.
you
It's
just
all
came
right.
back.
Yes. I got my thing to prove it. See, I was in there. I was there.
Yeah,
I'm there.
no,
I'm under the influence. But
no.
wrap
We'll
it up.
Yeah,
We can wrap it up.
yeah. We were so. So George was just telling us, if anyone wants to get in touch with him, like yourself, it's through Jimmy. But with yourself, Jeff, what should people expect to see from you over the next couple, coming soon? Either shows or
I got
stuff.
a bunch of shows coming up. I know one for sure. April 12th, I'm in Rochdale Village in New York, Queens. Got a project coming out the top of April, God willing. That's a 5-song house music project I'm doing with, Charles Dixon and my big brother. Lord have mercy, I tell you I'm under influence, but I gotta get it. Houseworks, which is Rick Nelson. And then also, like I said, I have the project out. Now I didn't put it out. She put it out with Kaya Baby. That's KYAH _baby. At she's on Instagram. The name of the song is Blocked. Video and everything is up there. Also, I'm working on a jazz project, which I've been working on for years. And now I know George do jazz. So George, I want to do some standards.
Okay.
But I need a different perspective. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do like The Way You Look Tonight, but it's not going to be the regular way. We're going to do Come Fly With Me, Let's Fly Away. But it's not going to be that. And then we're going to shoot black and white videos. It's going to be hot.
Okay.
So it's a jazz project. Also working on shooting some short films and just having a ball, and people can reach me on all platforms at The Real Jeff Redd, TheReal JEFFREDD. And thank you so much for having us. Oh yeah, also coming up, I'll be in London May 5th through the 15th. I'm just coming with my lady, but I'm coming out there to hustle up some work. So put me and check this out. You could be the first one to bring Jeff Redd to London. Never before have I performed in London in my life. I never been to London. I was in the airport at Heathrow, going to Paris. Going to Paris. So I never been to London. Actually, a long story short, I flew out there years ago when I was getting ready to start my second album after A Quiet Storm came out. I was flying out there to work with Carl McIntosh.
From
Loose Ends. And I had my cousin with me, God rest his soul. He only had a one-way ticket, so they thought he was trying to get in the country. Long story short, they didn't let him in the country, and I just went back with him. But yeah, this would be my first time actually going to London, so I want to connect with some cats and, just come down and have some fun, do some shows and work. That's it. So I'm putting it out there.
Okay.
When you go to London, you want to go play the Wembley Arena, man. That's where you want to play.
Absolutely. And you want to keep and golden fingers in the back.
Absolutely. I got your
You know what
back.
I'm
You
saying?
already know.
Golden fingers in the back, man. I'm
I
gonna put
got
him on
your
some
back.
gold
You know it.
gloves. You know what I'm saying?
You know it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
definitely. I mean, unfortunately, Jimmy dropped
Yeah,
off. We
yeah.
haven't
It's
seen
just
him,
like
but
me.
we'll get ready to wrap it up. But it would be, yeah. So the real Jeff Red.
The real
If you
Reverend
search
on
on
social
Instagram,
media.
on social
And if they
media,
want to email me for
um,
shows and bookings, they can email JAIREDD396 at gmail.com. That's Jai Red, JAIREDD 396 at gmail.com. That's for bookings.
and
That's for
that's for
bookings, yes.
bookings. Yes, okay. But if they search your social media,
They'll
they'll be
get
able to get the
it,
email
all
and
that
the
stuff.
links and
Yes,
stuff
sir.
like that. Okay. And George, what's your? If people want to track you down
Well,
online,
online, I have OG Smoney 657 at gmail.com.
Spell it out, George.
OGSMONEY 657 at gmail.com. So it's OG Smoney at 657, you know what I'm saying, at gmail.com. But
and then any social media like Instagram or stuff that they can.
I'm on Instagram, Goldfinger333US. And I'm on Facebook as well, George Pearson. But like I said,
Okay.
I'd rather, if it's about work, go through Jimmy. Yeah,
Go for
go through
Jimmy.
Jimmy. If you
Okay.
just want to holler at a brother, and let me hear something, or just connect, you're more than welcome. I answer all my emails and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if it's any work
But
in
yeah, if
business,
it's about
okay.
business, talk to Jimmy first.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to appreciate both you, George, and Jeff for, well, and Jimmy for, even though he's not
Yeah.
around now, for blessing us. This is our part two of Uptown Records Pioneer. We had Eddie last week, for having you guys this week. It is definitely something that definitely us who grew up listening to 90s music, especially Uptown. Definitely appreciate hearing the stories, being able to reminisce, being able to learn, especially there are a number of guys who are people who are tuning in, who are trying to get in the business as producers and artists, and being able to hear the ups and downs, and being able to be patient, like you said, Jeff, and have people around you to really help be a sounding
Yeah.
board, or how important that is. So it is definitely appreciated that you guys are sharing your wisdom and giving them a master class of music business 101. Um, sweet Gregory said, Mr. Red, say it again.
What
But
did I say?
you,
No,
huh?
One more time. What'd you say, George?
Well, I was just gonna say to my man, we appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? What you doing, bringing,
Absolutely.
highlighting everybody, in the music business, and just showing the real what's going on. Because I wasn't hip to you at first, and then I happened to look at it, and I was like, wow, this brother's really trying to shed light to the music business and show what's really happening, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to tell my story and who I am.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's important.
yeah,
And
it's very important.
again, I echo what he's saying. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Excuse me for not being at the top, but I couldn't. It's so crazy. I knew about this for 3 weeks, and then I was telling my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this thing on. And she said, you got surgery that day, right? I said, oh shoot, they done put out flyers and everything. So I said, if I get a little, so she was saying it at the beginning. That's why he kept seeing me. She wanted to see if I was going off course and start talking about the lily flowers and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to do this and thank you again. And Sweet Gregory saying, Mr. Red, say it again. So maybe she's saying my information. So I'll say that again, which is the real Jeff Red on all social media. Mr. Red. Email for bookings is JAIREDD 396 at gmail.com. So that's jred396 at gmail.com.
Okay, let me get it so I can put it up there. So JAI.
REDD
Yeah.
396 at gmail.com. Now, Sweet
Okay.
Gregory, I need you to put the feelers out there for me. Jeff Red's coming to London May 5th through the 15th. So we're going to work. I want to do
Okay.
jazz, whatever. I want to do like when Gillespie and them went to London for the first time and everybody's waiting for him to get off the plane and all that stuff.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's it. But thank you again. God bless you.
But then this is Kai Baby blocked, so people can search that as well.
Yes,
Can you see
Kai
that?
Baby blocked. That's right. They can put it in just like that. It's on
Okay.
YouTube and it's on Instagram and I guess all.
Yeah, if they search it on YouTube, you see that, so we can listen to the
Yes.
track as well.
Yeah.
And stuff. So and Jeff, yeah, Jeff. So both of you guys, hopefully we'll hear from you guys. Hopefully we'll hear some music from a collaboration.
Oh, it's
Mr.
done. It's
Golden
done, 'cause-
Fingers
Yeah,
and
it's-
Mr.
it's
Jeff
already
Red.
in the
I need something for the clubs. And
I got that for you right now.
yeah, I know you do.
I got that.
So I'm glad this was great on all parts to connect with George.
Mm-hmm.
And also to how convenient it is right now. I'm coming to London in a few months. So like I always say at the beginning and always through any interview, God is merciful and
Yes.
God is awesome.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I just thank you for your
Yeah.
time. And thank you. God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Definitely. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, George.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll talk to Jimmy later
Yes.
and stuff.
And don't forget
Okay.
Jimmy's event November 13th at Carnegie Hall in New York City. November
there you go.
13th, Carnegie Hall, New York City.
Back.
I thought
He's
you were
back.
gone, man. I had to step up, man, for you, man. November
all right.
13th,
I appreciate that.
2024, Carnegie Hall. What is the title of it, Jimmy?
It's called Uptown Forever.
Okay, Uptown Forever.
Uptown Forever. It's going to be a celebration of Uptown Records and Andre Harrell's life and his contribution to the entertainment business and the people in it. And it's November 13th, starts at 8 p.m. And we're going to have Chris Rock host, Mary J. Blige. We're going to have Jeff Red, of course, Christopher Williams. It's like going to be like the MTV Unplugged. We're going to have George Golden Fingers in the orchestra playing the piano and keyboards because he knows all the songs. We're going to have, So For Real, Lost Boys, Father
Cheeks.
LC, of course. Excuse me?
Mr. Cheeks.
Yeah, Lost Boys, Mr. Cheeks. So we're going to have, hopefully we have some of the artists that started Uptown Records. So when we do the Uptown medley at the end, the Uptown, celebrating Uptown, we want to try to bring everybody together to do that. We're going to have a Heavy D segment that goes down that Eddie F is going to DJ. We're going to have DJ Cassidy, your favorite and mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Do his thing, and he's going to do his Champagne and Bubbles that him and Andre Harrell did the volume 1 and 2, and we're going to have Clark Kent,
I'll be sure and the
girls as well, and we're going to wrap it out at that because
and
now
I'm going to cut you off, Jimmy. Tell them what goes on before that real quick. What's happening with the street naming and all that stuff real quick.
Okay, so last September, Andre Harrell got his honorary doctorate degree. Honorary doctorate degree from Lehman College. Jeff Red was there to kindly accept it for us, honoring Andre, and we had a gala for him and myself as well. And so they gave him his honorary doctorate. And during that, they gave him a citation from Vanessa Gibson, who is the Bronx Borough president, and, the mayor's office also. um, we're honoring him with a street named after him because he comes from a project originally called Bronxdale Projects. He went there. I mean, he lived there, but so did Sonia Mayor, the
Oh, the
Supreme
Supreme
Court
Court.
Justice. They renamed the projects after her. So we're renaming the street, A Street, after Andre Harrell, as well as another street after Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it's across 110th Street, which is Andre Harrell's publishing company. And we're naming that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And Mr. Hyde is Alonzo Brown, who's going to be directing the film that's going to be shot while we're doing the Carnegie Hall event. So
Okay.
we have three components to it. We have the concert, then we have the streaming component, and then we have the filming of the production for Netflix or Hulu or FX.
And
You
Okay.
and
know,
Wendy and Gianni will be
and
there too as well.
Wendy and Gianni is going to be there, and they will accept his awards from the president of CUNY College and Lehman College. Lehman College is important to this whole thing because we're having a 2,400 seat theater renamed after Andre Harrell.
Wow. That's
And
beautiful.
we're going to call it the Andre Harrell Pack Center. And that's a big deal at Lehman College. Now, the reason why this is important is because when we went to school there in 1982 or 80, whenever it was, Andre Harrell, Kurt Woodley, Alonzo Brown, who's Mr. Hyde, and myself would sit in the library planning out what our future would be at Uptown, how it would look like, what kind of haircut we would have, what kind of shoes we would wear, what kind of blazer jacket, hard bottom shoes and blazer jackets we would wear, what kind of money we was going to get up to go to the Leviticus or the Silver Shadow or Bentley's, because we had to compete with Mike Tyson and Eddie Murphy, who had way, way, way more money than us.
Right.
And, so we had to, we would sit there and we were part of student government. And we would, as student government, we were in charge of entertainment. So the entertainment that we bought there was Miles Davis, Chaka Khan, Prince. We bought, Tito Puente, Celia Cruz, Jose Feliciano. We bought Ron Carter, jazz musicians. Then
Bass
we
player.
bought Eric B. and Rakim. We bought the Cold Chilling crew, Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie, and the whole crew, Big Daddy Kane there. And then Andre performed with the Temptations there. And we got there late and they wouldn't let him perform. So we performed the next week at the 500 seat theater. The point I'm trying to make is this is where we started our journey into the music business. Andre went on to work for WOL after that. Then he went to work for Def Jam with Russell Simmons. I created and invented the street team while I was at Lehman College with a young man by the name of Derek Osario, AKA Chuck Bone. And he used to give out flyers, posters, and come with me to the radio station to do airtime and stuff like that. And also go downtown to get the one-day legal alcohol license to sell alcohol for one day. And we had huge events there, and they haven't had anything like that since we were in college. Like I said, we had Prince at Lehman College.
Wow.
We had Miles Davis with his back turned to the audience at Lehman College. We had Chaka Khan at Lehman College.
Crazy.
So James Brown at Lehman College. So this is where the journey begins.
That's crazy.
And Jeff, to your point about dealing with people that you work with and you are close to, that you've been around, no new friends.
Right.
Mark Siegel was at ICM when we were in Lehman College.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Mark Siegel we were booking Mark Siegel at ICM. We had the Dance Theater of Harlem at Lehman College. The rain dance.
Yes,
it was very
yes.
cultural. It was very cultural. And we want to bring that back to the college. but we want to bring it back to, our legacy as well. And by naming this 2,400 seat theater after Andre Harrell, the Andre Harrell Pack Center. And
That's
during that time, at the November 13th, we're going to be creating a scholarship fund for him under his name for students at Lehman College that are interested in music,
That's
film,
wonderful.
and technology.
That's wonderful.
Okay. Well, I mean, definitely we'll keep posting more things around it so people can get ready to stream, or for those who are in the area can be able to visit. But I'm definitely super humbled that both George and Jeff were able to join. I think Jimmy has been on more than 6 times, so he's a co-host.
He's a resident here.
He's a
I'm
resident
trying
of
to
the.
blow up. I'm
He's
trying
He's
to
a
blow
resident,
up
man.
on
Word up.
Yeah,
That's right.
He's
That's right.
so I'm always blessed when he gets involved and stuff. But I definitely thank yourself, Jeff and George, for sharing your
you.
story,
Thank you
sharing
again.
your journey, and for people to be able to keep looking out for you guys. You've talked about the past, but there's so much more in the future that we still need to hear from you guys. So
Absolutely.
we definitely look forward to that.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. God bless you, bro.
Yeah.
man.
All right.
Thank you guys.
All right.
And so I'll see you guys. And Jeff, when you come to the UK, George, when you get the music out,
Absolutely.
and Jimmy, I'm sure next week.
Coming back.
I
he's
can't
coming
laugh.
back.
Go ahead. I'm out.
Okay. See you guys.
I ain't get to tell my poke and toe story, so
All right.
I'm gonna tell it next week.
Next week, don't worry. See you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, God.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for Jimmy, and Jimmy's gonna probably get us another surprise next time, with some other guests. So, looking forward to that. But definitely, thank you guys for always blessing us by tuning in and your comments and stuff. Take care.